Hi everyone, it's Dr. Craig Duncan and this is our Maximising Human Performance series. And today I'm going to talk about professional athletes. And this is where I've spent most of my career working with athletes, and primarily in football, what often people call in soccer, but we've also worked with people in rugby league and basketball and nearly every sport. But one of the things that's often asked is how do I become an athlete? What goes into becoming an athlete? And what I've found over the years is that it's much more than just talent. There's been some fantastically talented athletes that I've worked with that haven't gone on and had a great career simply because they haven't put in all the extra work. And the extra work is completing, the basic injury prevention things that we need to do, or getting really good sleep, eating well, getting good recovery. And what I've found is it's not always the most talented or genetically gifted athlete that has the success. So I think that's really exciting for many of us, because we can really identify that hard work and persistence can make a difference. So at the moment I'm preparing players for the World Cup, and this is quite exciting. So can you imagine what it's like to be chosen for Australia to go and participate in the World Cup? The World Cup, in actual fact, is the biggest sporting event, along with the Olympics in the world. And it's probably the pinnacle for any athlete, particularly a footballing athlete. And I've been fortunate to work with the Australian national team in this area. So at the moment we're preparing for this. Soon we're going to go off to Turkey for a pre-camp. So over the last 4 years we've been preparing for this World Cup in Russia, and we were fortunate enough to make it. And it took us to all parts of the globe to do this, extensive travel and a lot of work with the players. In actual fact, it was we played the most games in the history of the World Cup to qualify, and travelled the most amount of distance. And it's exciting, and now we're at this stage where we're going just very soon to our pre-camp, or our preparation for this period, where we'll work very hard with the athletes to prepare for our first game in Russia. And one of the things that we've been working on is the management of fatigue, because I've talked about before that performance is really the relationship between your capacity or your fitness and then taking away all those things like fatigue and anything that's going to disrupt your capacity. And it's this area that's very important to making sure your recovery is right, your nutrition right, and your sleep's right. And so a lot of players now are at this stage, so we can bring them to their optimal performance zone when we really need them to be there. So how do you go about doing this? Well, one of the keys is that we have to monitor them. Staying in tune with exactly where a player is 24/7 is really important. So we monitor their sleep, we monitor all their training, and we monitor how they respond to that training. And through all that information, we can package it up and keep real good track of exactly where a player is day to day. So we know that they're on track, they're not getting too fatigued, or sometimes not training hard enough, to make sure that they're actually ready when we need them to be ready. And I've been fortunate to work with some wonderful players, and one of those is Tim Cahill, which has been quite exciting, and he's going to hopefully go to his 4th World Cup. So that's incredible. So even though Tim is now into his late 30s, he is a fantastic example of what you can do if you manage yourself very well off the field. If you sleep well, if you eat well, if you train well and get good advice, you can continue your career till long into your late 30s, and some players can even do that into their 40s. So a great example of Tim's dedication is when he was injured prior to our last games that we had to play to qualify for the World Cup, which was Honduras. So he had an ankle injury, and normally it would be very difficult to come back from that. But the amount of work that you do off the field in your preparation and your attention to the detail in any of your recovery or your preparation can make all the difference. And Tim came back and was able to play in those games. And there's great examples of that throughout a lot of athletes that we work with. And that's one of the things that's important with a professional athlete, is their resilience. They're all going to get knocked down at some stage. whether it's not be chosen for a team or get injury or whatever. It's your ability to bounce back, and that works in everyday life as well. If you have that, then you can make all the difference. And I've seen that time and time over my career. It's the ability for players to come back from difficult situations, and when they have got that knockback, to actually go on and for that to inspire them rather than to fall in a heap and start to feel sorry for themselves. So it's up to you. If you really desire to become a professional athlete, it is much more than talent. Much more than talent. Often, talent can be a curse, okay? Because then you won't do all that other stuff that's vital for us. But work hard off the field, work hard on your preparation, work hard on your eating, and work hard on your nutrition aspects, and then you'll be right. And that will help you to become a professional athlete. I'm often asked what supplements professional athletes take, and often people are surprised to know that the supplements they take are very similar to what's available to everyone. In actual fact, everything that's available to you is available to them, and it's really no different. So often a pre-game supplement such as Chaos is taken. That really enhances performance, I've found. For said athletes, a recovery type protein is very important post-game to enhance that recovery process. Things like the low-carb, high-protein balls, they're really good in respect to just a snack. All these things that are available to you are also available to them. So with any supplementation, it's a food first. You've got to have your diet right, and the supplements on top of that. The athletes I work with and our main work is really concentrating on that recovery area, and compression is part of that as well. So when you travel or when you post-game, using your compression outfits, I've seen that really help people. And I always advise that if you're on long travel, particularly post-game, to put compression on will really enhance, your recovery. And there's some good science about that as well. The other thing that we use just for a lot of this time we need is convenience. And one of the great products Body Science have is the RTDs, or the ready to drink. Rather than sitting there and mixing up all this protein, it's there, ready to go. We can put it in the fridge or just put it on ice and use it straight away. The other thing I like is the bars or the protein balls or any of that, which are easy to use, because often we play and then have to get straight onto a bus, get to an airport, and then it might be a little while before we actually get food. So if we can use that supplementation there, it's really advantageous. And you might use that if you're training and it's going to be a while till you get home for dinner. Just grab a bar or grab some of the protein balls or grab a ready to drink, and you'll be on track. So convenience is really important, and we often looked for this, and this is why there's a lot of Body Science products that we use. Thanks for listening. These podcasts are a little bit longer than our usual weekly ones. So if you enjoy listening, there'll be another one next month, so please tune in.